Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the On Time, On Target Financial Thought Leader Series. Today, we are privileged to have Vick King with us, who spent a couple years in the NFL right out of college, and he has a great story to tell about that opportunity. And I can't even imagine it myself. What a dream to be able to go off and do the thing you love and have somebody pay you for it. So that's what we're going to talk about. And then also Vick and I do some investing together. So we're going to talk about that towards the end, once he kind of gets his story out of the system, tells us about that. And then we can talk about some specific investing stuff. So with that, welcome, Vick. Over to you to tell us, how you got started in football.
Well, once again, man, thanks for having me on. It's a great story, for number one. Number two is I've been loving it since I was a kid. My grandpa and my dad played football a lot, and it was very sports inside the family. So it was very easy for me to catch on once I understood that I can play. So that was really great.
Yeah. How early did you like always play, like born with a football in your hand?
I didn't start realizing until probably I was about 7 or 8. 7 or 8 years old, I started to realize, I think I really love this sport. Because I played everything. I played baseball, basketball, I ran track. I did it all, but football was the one that my grandpa and my grandma was like, I think this is the sport that he's probably going to, because I picked it up really, really well.
Yeah, excellent. Now, you made it into the NFL as a running back. Were you always a running back, or did you bounce around and play both sides of the ball kind of thing?
In junior high, it started off as linebacker, and it started off as cornerback. I played a little bit of running back. It was one of those things where in junior high, you kind of play every position. And then when I got to high school, it was like I kind of gravitated to the running back side. I was a lot faster, a lot quicker, a lot thinner. So I just stayed with running back after that.
Ah, very nice. Now, where were you when you went to high school? What state?
Oh, Louisiana. I'm originally from Louisiana. Cut off Louisiana, which is way down south, like 45 minutes down south from New Orleans.
Okay. Oh wow. All right.
Yes. Probably some states, some cities that you probably know on the map. Want to say Galliano, Fouchon. Right there by the Gulf of Mexico. So it's right in that area, not that far.
All right. And when you were sitting in high school, when you were playing, were you on like a good team, or were you on a small town team where didn't have a lot of talent, just yourself? Or what was that like?
Well, with that being said, it was a small town, but in that small town, it was very compact. It was a lot of people, a lot of kids. So we had a decent team. And I went to South Lafourche High. That was the name of my high school. We had a very good team. We did well. My freshman year, I played little, but I played a lot, but not much because they had 2 seniors in front of me. But then we went second round playoff my freshman year. My sophomore year, I started after that, and then we went second round playoff. And then my senior year, we we went second round again, and that was it. So we had a pretty decent team.
All right. Well, that's good. Now, when you were sitting in high school, did you think that you were going to make it to the NFL, dreaming big like most kids, or was it just
always?
Yeah.
Always. When you love a sport that much and you play it so well, you kind of dream about this all the time. So you already have it in your mind that, hey, I'm gonna make it someday. I just got to keep working at it and keep pushing at it. So you always have that in your mind. So I always had it in my mind that I was gonna make it. The thing is, I just had to keep pushing, keep working, staying out of trouble, make sure my education was on point so I can go to college. So it was one of those things where you always knew you was gonna make it. You just had to make sure you was on that straight and narrow.
Right. Well, I love that. I love the self-confidence, and it sounded like you had some mentoring growing up. Was that mostly your family mentoring, or did you have really good coaches too, or was it everybody? Or
Of course. My grandma was a big part of my life, and she's the lady that I stayed with most of my life. And I had a lot of people involved along the way. My aunt, some of my uncles, and a very important piece that I had in my life. Also, my mom was a big part of big part of my upbringing. So it was a good surrounding cast that I had around me. So which was good.
All right. Yeah, that's a great story. And now talk to us about your transition to college. Where'd you go? And I think if I remember right, you switched to colleges. So talk to us about that path.
Well, yeah. So with that being said, I went to Southern University first. I went there in 90. I didn't do too well there. Didn't play. Didn't get a chance. Didn't get an opportunity to play. So I kind of was, I was at that young age where it's like, all right, you don't want to give me an opportunity, so let me see if I can go to another school and try to do something over there. So I'm a back up just a little bit. So as I'm in this transition trying to go to McNeese, which I dropped out of Southern University, I started working at this place called International Boat Rentals, which is owned by a friend of mine, Stephen Williams. And I go in his office and I'm filling out the application because I'm trying to go to work so I can save money to go to college, go to another school. And he walks by and he noticed me because I was a big name in high school.
Right.
So he noticed who I am and he brings me in the office. He was like, so what are you, are you trying to go to work or are you trying to go to school or what are you, he figured out what I was trying to do from by looking.
Right.
I was young. I was like 22 years old.
Okay.
And I said, well, I'm trying to go to school. So make a long story short, he put me on one of his boats at first. He said, well, I'm gonna put you on a boat to see if you like it. If not, try to give you a job on land, and then we'll go from there. So I went on the boat, worked for that for a little bit, saved up some money. Then I started working on land, saved up some money. So he was like, well, how's everything going? I told him, I said, well, everything's going fine. And he was like, how much you saved up? So I told him how much I saved up. He was like, okay. So he said, give it all to me. So he took my whole earnings that I saved up to go to school. And what's crazy is that he took the whole money that I was saving to go to school. He put me through school.
Oh, nice.
So yes, it was a great thing. It was a blessing. So that same day, the following year, we was going to school. So I kind of like left his job and he was like, okay, you ready? Everything's set up. So we ready to go to school. So we went to McNeese State University, which is probably about another 4 hours away from where I stay at Cut Off, Louisiana. Okay. So we moved out. We went out there, and that's where I went to school at Lake Charles, Louisiana. McNeese State University is my university, and everything is history after that.
Yeah, that's great. When I think of it, I picture the high school star and then getting scholarship money going off to college. So it's amazing that you have a story that can motivate others that, hey, even if you end up out in the workforce, grind it out and get back to it. So that is that's a great story.
Yeah, that's and to back up just a little bit more, I had a lot of offers. I had a lot of offers from every Division I school. It's just that at the time, ACT you had to score 18 to get in. Okay. And I scored a 16 the first time. Then I had to take it again. I scored a 17 the second time. So I was like, okay, one more time.
Oh, man.
I can get in. And I scored a 17 again because I wanted to go to LSU. And at the time, LSU had Rondell Millie, Cecil Collins, Kevin Falk. They had that group of guys. And I wanted to be a part of that group, that family. Jared Nardo came to my house personally. So it was, and I was going to go take the ACT at LSU. But my grandma didn't want that to happen.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, she said that they was going to give it to me, and she always made me work for everything. And so, yeah, it's crazy.
Right.
But yes, so I didn't score high enough on my ACT, so I had to go to a smaller school, which is a 1AA school. That's why we decided to go to McNeese State University out of Lake Charles, Louisiana.
Yeah, well, good. Well, tell us about playing in college there at McNeese State.
It was awesome. It was a smaller school. I mean, very well known school, but smaller school. Very diversified. Great school. But I had a great time. They didn't win a championship prior, I went there in 2001, the beginning of 2001, and they didn't win prior to that, like 4, 5, 7 years. They haven't won a championship. So my freshman year, my freshman year in college, I played well enough where I started like the last 9 games,
Okay.
which was great because what happened was someone went down, and after somebody went down, I was kind of like, okay, you up next, and I kind of took over from there. I didn't want to stop. It felt great. The first play of the game, I scored a touchdown.
Oh, wow.
So yes, that was great. It was great. So I had it was a good run, and I started the last 9 games. Ended up with roughly about 1,000 yards in 9 games, and about 15 touchdowns, and roughly around there. And then we won the conference championship. So that was great.
Yeah, that sounds like a heck of a year. And that's often the opportunity often presents itself with somebody getting hurt or something happens, and you have to be ready. And that's great that you were ready to go.
Always. My grandma used to always teach me that you always have to be ready. You always have to be ready, no matter what the situation is. If it's life, sports, school, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, well, she's a brilliant woman. When did you get along the way? When did it start getting any pro interest?
The following year, my sophomore year, I started to see my junior year. I started to see agents come around a lot more, not any scouts. I might have got 1 or 2 scouts that said something. Hello? Okay. I might have got 1 or 2 scouts that kind of said, hey, from the previous guys that were seniors, they came and visited them. They might have said, hey, King, how you doing? And that was it. But I started to get a whole bunch of agents my junior year. Like, they was coming out of the woodworks. And the great thing is, the guy that put me through school, Mr. Stephen Williams, he was along the way as we doing all of this. He was along the way helping me out at the same time to make sure I picked the right agent.
Oh, yeah.
So that's when I knew. I was like, he was like, well, this agent called and he said this, and then this agent called and said that. So I kind of knew, okay, I might get a chance here.
Right. Well, that is great. So what was your first chance? When I guess it would be the first time you signed a contract with somebody? Was it through a draft or was it an undrafted free agent kind of thing? Or
right. I was praying and hoping that I could have got drafted. That's what I was wishing for. That's what I dreamed about. But unfortunately, that didn't happen, which wasn't bad because a lot of teams wanted to sign me. Minnesota wanted to sign me. Atlanta wanted to sign me. The Giants wanted to sign me. So everybody, it wasn't bad. And I had a great pro day. So my pro day was really great. So, but it just wasn't good enough to get drafted. So, I mean, if you look at it, that's just how it was. And it's not that I didn't stand out, but it's just one of those things where when you're coming from a small school, you really have to be one of the biggest names. And but with that being said, it was great. I can remember this day like yesterday. So we was waiting at Mr. Steve's house, the guys that put me through school. We was waiting at the house, and the draft was going on. And a lot of teams called and said it was going to draft me in the 7th round. But that didn't happen. But as soon as the draft was over with, I had several calls. Matter of fact, I had 10 calls because we remember I counted. I had 10 calls, and we just picked the best one for me. And at the time, it was Tennessee Titans.
Okay. And when you picked, were they throwing a contract at you then, or are they saying, "Hey, come work out for us, and we're going to talk"? Or how does that work?
But no, it was a contract. They said matter of fact, after the last pick of that year, they sent me the contract. We had 10 contracts in front of us, and he had the better contract, which gave me $4,000 up front, and then gave me the minimum deal. So that was the best deal, and we say, okay, we had to go with that one because everybody else was kind of like 1s and 2s. So
so there's a little bit of a bonus, and then you go right into like the league minimum, and then you go from there.
right
And
into the league.
is it a 1 year kind of thing, or is it a?
No,
How's it?
you automatically get a 2-year contract. You
2 years,
automatically
okay.
you automatically get a 2-year contract, and then after that 2-year contract, then you go to, you know, if you do a 1-year contract if you want, or a 2-year contract. It all depends on how you play in between that time. But as me signing on with the Tennessee Titans, I had a great preseason, which I met some very good people. Steve McNair, the great Steve McNair that passed away.
Right. What year is this, Vic?
This was 2004.
Okay. All right.
2004. So which was really good. 2004. So my first day, you know, I go. You know, we rookies, so you know how the rookie thing works out.
Right.
You have your first practice, you know, everybody get to know who you are, and I played and I did well. Like I said, and I played well. It was myself. I had a lot of good friends. Ronald McClendon, the great late Walter Payton's son, Jared Payton.
Okay.
So it was us three competing for one spot, because they had one spot available for the running back position.
Right.
So which was good, and you had 3 games to make the cut. So you basically had 4 cuts. So I made all 3 cuts, and I made the 4th cut, but unfortunately, one of the receivers from the Tennessee Titans got hurt, and they needed to release a guy to pick up a receiver. And unfortunately, I was at the bottom.
You?
Right.
Oh, man.
I was at the bottom of the toe pole. So, which was good, though, because I had a great preseason. I scored a touchdown in my first preseason game, with the Cleveland Browns. So it was great.
So, yeah. So at that point, when you get hey, we're going to bump you off the roster, are you still under a 2-year contract with the team and you just go into waiting, or are you fully released?
That's one of the things is I feel like football didn't get it right out of the big 3. When I say the big 3, I say baseball, basketball, and football. Baseball and basketball get it right. They got it right. It's a guaranteed contract. So you guarantee. So once you sign for that 150 or whatever that contract is guaranteed. Right. But for football, it's not. So the 250 I got minimum. It wasn't guaranteed, but the 4,000 was. So you know, so once you get cut, you keep the signing bonus that you signed for, but you lose the 250 because that's not guaranteed.
Were you compensated for the preseason work, or that was all just trying? Okay.
No, sir. You compensated. So within that preseason, in the preseason you make about $900 a week, and that's about your preseason dues. And when the season starts, that's when the $250 crank in.
Gotcha. That's okay.
But I didn't get a chance to make it. So when I got released, it wasn't a big deal, because in the midst of your preseason, you're not just practicing to make the team for the Tennessee Titans. You're practicing, you're training, and you're playing your game. You're trying to make the team for all 32 teams, because all 32 teams get those highlights or get those films. So at the time, that's how I view everything.
Sure. That's a great way to look at it, because running back's such a high turnover job, unfortunately, with injuries, that you have to be ready to go. So once you were released, did you just stay right there? Or was the phone ringing off the hook by the time you got home? Or
before I left, before I went to the hotel, my agent had called me right away and said, "Hey, you had a great preseason, but Atlanta want to bring you in, and Miami want to bring you in." And I was like, "Oh!" And at this time, it was to bring me in for the season, not for the preseason, because the preseason was over with already.
Right. Okay.
So with that being said, I had a choice to either go to Atlanta or Miami, and at that time, I don't know if you remember, but that's when Ricky left. Ricky Vick, he left Miami. if I ever get a chance to see him, I'm gonna tell him thank you.
That opened your door to get
Yes,
down there. So yeah.
He opened the door for me. So I decided to go to Miami, then to go to Atlanta, which I should have went to Atlanta with Michael Vick. But I wanted to go to Miami because I had a great opportunity to get on the football field because Ricky left. They had another guy left, and they just had two draft that they drafted. And to me, I felt like I could have beat them out.
Sure, make it into the lineup that way. Now, if I have my story straight, you were number 3 at Tennessee and then 33 down at Miami.
Yes, sir.
What was the history of your number? Were you always number 3, or how did that kind of work out?
Well, as a rookie, they give you those odd numbers, which is they give you those number 3s, number 2s, number 1.
Okay.
You know, they give you those. Those numbers, which is, and for me, they gave me number 3 because I was doing so well. They felt like I was going to be the number 3rd back.
Okay.
And they liked me so well. And to back up a little bit more, as I'm playing with the Tennessee Titans and I'm doing well, I'm practicing well, I'm playing well in my first preseason game. Like I said, I had, I think it was 10 for 80 with a touchdown, and nobody knew my name. Like the offensive line didn't know my name at all. So one of the offensive linemen, they said, well, I think his name is Burger King. And which was a joke.
Right.
But it was a great time. It was a great feeling, which I was very excited. And as I'm doing well throughout the preseason with the Tennessee Titans, along the way, you being Ricky Hayes, as in fun.
Sure.
Fun, not like bad, but fun. Like I had a messed up haircut. After the first game, they kind of gave me all kinds of haircut where it was all over the place, which was awesome. My second game, I had to start bringing donuts and cakes and pies and stuff from offensive lineman meeting room, which was really great. And when I got released, it was also great because when I got released, I didn't know that I was getting released, and everybody knew I was going to make the team because as the veterans, as it gets thinner and thinner, the veterans, get closer to the rookies.
Right.
And they already knew that I was going to make the team, and when they found out that I was being released, they kind of gave me a farewell gift, which I had like jerseys, Steve McNair jersey, stuff like that, which was really good. So I go to Miami because Ricky left.
Right.
And the contract was sort of like the same as now you start off fresh. So the contract is not the same as my Tennessee one, but it was sort of the same thing. It was the contract, the 2-year contract was still good, which is your $250,000.
Okay.
And then the signing bonus was like $2,000.
Okay.
So which was really good. So I kind of took that one because that contract was better than the Atlanta contract.
Right.
Right.
So you were telling me when we first met a few years back, you were telling me about getting traded, and sometimes you just go. Was that where you?
Yeah.
Is that out of Miami, or were you kind of talking getting out of Tennessee and going to Miami?
I was talking about getting out of Tennessee, going to Miami. So once they say, hey,
right.
We're gonna let you go, and my agent calls me like it wasn't even no more than about, it's probably as soon as I went to the hotel, about 20 minutes, he was like, hey, you going to Miami? I was like, what?
Right.
He said, well, we had a choice, either Miami or Atlanta, and you picked the Miami. I was like, okay, then. So it was, my next flight was to Miami, so it wasn't like I went back home, or it was just straight to Miami. So
right, because you've got a game. I mean, the first game of the season's like within days, right?
The first game of the season was like a month away. So,
okay, all right. So talk to me about when you arrived at Miami. Did somebody meet you at the airport with the playbook and kind of go, learn this as fast as you can, or what was it like down there?
No, so when I got there, they had the guy there to come pick you up. That always picks up everybody from the airport.
Okay.
So when I got there, we go, instead of me finding the house, we go straight. I had at the time my girlfriend, which is my wife now. She went with one of the team's ladies that find houses and apartments and stuff. They went and found a house and apartment, and I went straight to the field house to get my playbooks, to everything. And yes, I did get the playbook on the first day getting there, but wish it was a month out, till the first game. So it wasn't that bad though. The playbook wasn't that bad like I thought it was, but it was great.
Let's talk about that, because I come from the flying business where the tactics manuals can be like 2 inches thick. What's an NFL playbook? Is it that thick? Is it pretty thin? Is it easy to understand?
It all depends. It all depends on where you're at. It all depends on where you're at. It's not that it's very thick, but majority of the playbook is really about what you need to do. But when you are a multiple player, like certain guys that plays a lot of positions, then you start to learn every position of the playbook. It wasn't that. It's one of those things where you need to know what you need to know, understanding the blocking of the offensive lineman, and the offensive lineman understands how you run the ball. So it's one of those things where you got to learn. It's not like the quarterback position where they have to know every receiver. He knows every receiver where he's going, where he's going to be at, and how he's going to throw the ball. Running back, you just got to understand that you got to make sure you can block off of this type of possession, and you got to, and then it goes from there. So it's really not that hard.
Very nice. And when they got down there, did they give you number 33, or did you have a choice at that point, now that you're on the roster?
Yeah, I had a choice. I had a choice to pick 33. I had a choice to pick 27, and I think 24. So I chose 33. And 33 just came from high school number, and it came from a high number. And it's not a number that I was never that I didn't have when I played Bantam or anything. It just was a number that was free, because my grandma used to always tell me. Like the number don't make you. Oh, well, not the number. Right. She would say the shoes don't make the player. Because I used to always want to wear. I used to always want to wear Jordans for basketball because I thought it made me play better.
Sure. Well, if you feel like it does, then it does. I mean, I got Kobe right behind me here, and I'd watch Kobe play, and I think I could do anything. So. Right.
So she used to tell me that all the time. The shoes don't make you play better. You play better. So that kind of stuck with me. So it didn't matter what jersey I had. I just knew I was a good player.
Oh, that's great. And then what was the difference when you got down there and you took the field during the actual regular season? Was it a lot different from the preseason, or was it just once you're in the flow of the game, you're into the game?
So as I'm there, I'm on the practice squad. So now it changes. So you have two different contracts. You have a practice squad contract, and you have a 53-man roster contract.
Okay.
So the practice squad contract, you make about $3,000 a week. If you jump up to the 53-man roster, which is if you get to play on the field, it jumps up to $8,000 a week. That's the rookies. That's like your basic contract, which is $250,000. That's like your basic contract, right? Unless you got drafted like a first, second round, third round, fourth round pick, then you play a different ball game. You're in a different tax bracket. So I made the practice squad at Miami, which is good because I kept bouncing back and forth from the practice squad to the 53-man roster because I was doing well in practice. So at the time, like I said, at the time I played about 4 games. So the 4 games that I played, I got paid as the 53-man roster pay, which is $8,000. And the time that I didn't play, I got paid as your practice squad roster, which is $3,000 a week. So
no, that makes sense. And when you got up to the 53-man roster, did you kind of know you were going into the game, or was it just a surprise when they called you? Okay.
No, once they let you know, hey, we're gonna move you up on the roster, then hey, you're either gonna run the ball a couple of times, or are you going to play on kickoff or punt return or kickoff return? So
Right.
you know where you're going to go after that. Once they tell you you're going to move up, you kind of know where you're going to go because you preparing for that.
Right.
And majority of the times I played on kickoff return and special teams, and I played I ran a couple of times on the offensive end, which was a great thing. It was a great experience. I mean, because it's everything that I dreamed of, like playing.
Sure, yeah.
Getting the opportunity.
Well, congrats. I mean, that is such a huge success, and especially since your story isn't exactly the regular, not regular, but a straightforward path that you took. So that's great. And then it is a show about finances. So with the money you did get, was it really just enough to kind of get by, or was it piling up in the bank account, or was there a Lambo out in front of the new?
It was one of those things where I was just excited and happy that I finally made it for number one. And number two, it's one of those things where, now I'm in a different tax bracket, so like from, working at Kmart, where I used to work at a long time ago, to, making $7 an hour. Now I'm jumping up to making $300 a week, So that was totally different. And I had a great girlfriend at the time and a great woman at the time that stuck by me through the whole process. So I would give her some, and she would save hers, but I would spend all of mine, because she was pregnant at the time. My wife was pregnant at the time. So it was one of those things where it was great. I was spending more, because I was probably shopping at Republic, and I ain't never shopped at Republic in my life. But as I got in the league, it was like, okay, I can get this $100 shirt, and sometimes you learn. And right now I'm in that learning stage where now I'm in a different path,
Right. Well, I'd imagine you saw all kinds. I mean, you hear the stories of like Gronkowski driving his minivan that's 20 plus years old, and then you hear other guys, showing up in fur coats, the Cam Newton style,
Exactly.
So I'd imagine it's probably quite entertaining.
Exactly. Yeah, it was it was rough. At the time I wasn't thinking about saving. My wife was, because that's just how she is. She's a saver.
That's good, right?
Right. Really great. Really great.
So I'm not just saying that because she's right over there, right?
Right. So she's a saver. But at the time I would just, because it's one of those things. I had it. So when my mom or my family was calling, I was like, okay, I'll send them that and send them this, and I'll pay the rent for the house for like 2 or 3 months. And, it was one of those things where I felt like I wasn't just blowing it. I was spending it on my family, but not thinking at the time I should have just focused on securing myself just in case football is not guaranteed, which is not.
Sure. Well, good. I was going to transition into investing next, but talk about the end of the dream. So injury, what do you think?
Well, leaving Miami, Nick Saban came in 2005.
Okay.
And when Nick Saban came, I didn't have enough film. And so he kind of, when he brought me in the office, he was like, hey, you didn't have enough film. We're kind of going to release you, which was fine.
Okay.
So at that time, when I got released, I still had like 2 more offers, which I went to the Jets because the Jets gave me an offer, and Atlanta gave me an offer again, which I should have went to Atlanta.
There you go. Yeah, right. There's a theme
but
there.
I was like, I'm gonna go to the Jets because at the time the Jets picked up the offense coordinator, Coach Heimerdinger, that passed away, late great Heimerdinger, that passed away. I went to the Jets because he already knew me from Tennessee. So when I got that call, I was like, well, I'm going to go there. And he already knew me. So he was like, yeah, bring him on because I know him. He's a good back. So I went there and I stayed there for like 7 months. And at the time, and being in the league is very, very hard. Like, you got to stay conditioned. Sure. You got to stay on top of your game every single day. And you got to work out just about every single day. It's one of those things where, it got very hard, and and I kind of hurt my knee in the midst of it. Like I pulled a hamstring, so the injuries start to come in practice. So at that time, I was like, well, it's getting very tough. So I retired after that.
Right. Well, everything happens for a reason, and
of course.
But you got there, and you saw yourself there as a young man, and you actually made it happen. So that's why I wanted to have you on today to talk about that story. But I do want to transition into investing just real quick. A few more minutes is what I love about Vick is I have some different folks I talk to in the local area, and we don't live too far apart. We have some common friends. It's how we met. But we started doing some investing stuff, and Vick will just text me a ticker symbol for me to, and and I'll look at it and go, yes, I've heard of it or not, like that. And kind of we'll text back and forth. It's pretty fun. But a name that you've kind of brought up lately is this Workhorse, WKHS. What do you like about Workhorse? Because I like them too. So I don't want to say what I like about it. I want to say what do you like about it?
Well, doing the research on EV, the EV future, and I really think the EV future is the way to go when it comes to getting away from gas and diesel, and I think that's just where the world is going. So I started doing my research on all of that good stuff, and I kind of fell in love with that side of the business. So I really like Workhorse. Workhorse is one of those. It's one of those where they are attacking all the small minivans. They're attacking all the UPS.
Right.
And they're not even going after the big semi trucks, which is where Shell is going, and Tesla and a couple of other companies. So I kind of look like they're gonna. To me, I think they'll dominate that market, which is all the other companies going for the bigger semi trucks. So that's what I like about them.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. So after you sent that to me, I pulled up their website and went in. There's an investor presentation, and they actually have a contract out to possibly get. It's a request for proposal for a fleet of EV vehicles for the post office.
Yes.
You talk about a game changer. If they land that, then that stock, of course, it was kind of a needle in a haystack when Vick sent it to me. So such a small company, but yeah, it's exploding right now. So anyway, I thought that was a cool story that I'd like to share with everybody. So, hey, Vick, I appreciate your time today. Thanks so much for taking time out of your busy day. And if there's a young person out there who has dreams of getting to the NFL and wanted to contact you, do you have LinkedIn or anything where somebody can reach out to you?
Yeah, it's one of those things where I'm not into. The only thing I have is Facebook, and I think I have a Twitter, but I don't really be on it.
Right. Really. Okay. Pretty private then. So
I kind of stay out of all of that Twitter and Facebook and stuff like that. And if I am, you can reach me on Vick King on my Facebook, and if you just type up Vick King, and I think I'm not the only Vick King, but it's one of those things where I really don't be on it at all. I'm not even going to sit in that.
No, sounds good. All right. Well, hey, thanks again for coming on today. And for the listeners out there, hopefully you got a lot out of Vick's story that he shared with us. And, this is all about you trying to make your goals, your dreams come true. And he had a goal and a dream as a young man and achieve that dream. What a fantastic opportunity. So with that, thanks for checking into our Financial Thought Leader series, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you bet. I'll cut the tape there. But yeah, that was a good interview, man. That was exactly what I was looking for. I think that'll be a lot of fun for folks to listen to that story.
Hopefully I didn't ramble too much.
No, it's perfect. Getting you talking instead of me is the goal. So you did great. So, all right. Well, all the best to you and your family this weekend. And like I said, this will go live out on July 1st. So that's when you can expect to see it. And I'll email you some stuff for so you can kind of see and listen to it if you want and that sort of thing.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on.
All right. You have a great weekend.
You too, sir.
Bye.